I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day, 'cause I found my way. I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay, 'cause I found my way. 'Cause I found my way.
We're back.
Hi, we're back. Trauma twins.
Girl, that swimsuit calendar is still bothering me. Like, I kind of want to
Try
buy
being the
one
woman.
just to, what? Jesus. Anyway. So,
Hi.
we're doing a little mini series on codependency, and we just want to do some clips and bites about what that looks like and how it shows up through the lens of being a codependent person and meshing with other people, giving away your power.
Yes.
Because you need to be validated by something outside of yourself, from wherever, but outside of yourself, rather than it coming from within.
Because we're the poster children for that.
So anyway, today's boundaries.
Not fun.
Not easy.
Not fun.
Not fun either. But God, boundaries, for some people, we were just talking about an
Earth
Earth sign friend.
sign.
Earth sign friend, she was like, this ain't working for me.
This is my boundary. Peace out.
There's nothing like an Earth sign asserting like
Yeah. It's done.
an
It is
earthen
law.
wall.
It is law.
And
Yeah.
you just know not to
Yeah.
with it, right?
You don't mess with it.
But for people who have a tendency towards codependency, enmeshment, people pleasing, boundaries are hard.
Very
They're hard.
hard.
And this, again, is a trauma response
Yeah.
from our families of origin. We learned in our household that to assert your boundary, whether it was constantly railroaded or just
Not
pushed,
listened to.
or you're a kid, you're a stupid
not
kid,
respected.
I'm the adult,
Yeah.
you don't get a say. That teaches you to invalidate your self-worth, trusting yourself. It invalidates what you feel is authentic to you.
I think of, a lot of parents right now are saying, like, I give my kid autonomy to say no to an adult when they ask for a hug.
Powerful.
I think of things like that. Like,
Yeah.
when you're a child, then they're pushing you towards somebody. Well, give grandpa a hug.
Give the
and
stranger a
inside,
hug.
you're like, I don't want to touch this person, but your parent is, like, pushing you towards it. That right there is crossing a boundary.
And kids
that
are
you're
so
learning.
sensitive to energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, they really are our teachers. Like, we learn through with our children,
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
Boundaries usually show up in your relationships. They can be also with yourself, a relationship
Big time.
boundary with yourself.
Big
but
time.
I would say in your interpersonal relationships, they show up the most, where you have to assert a boundary.
well, that's why we need them,
which
right?
is a way to keep people in your life. A lot of people mistake boundaries for I'm trying to cut you out.
It's a bad thing,
not.
but
It's a good, healthy way of saying, I want you in my life,
Yeah.
but I need you to show up differently for me.
boundaries keep us healthy.
Yes.
By giving, I always think of Madonna. I just
Mm-hmm.
had a conversation, but the power of goodbye, there's a line in it that says, no is actually a word of creation.
And no is a complete sentence.
It is that same thought. No creates space.
Yeah.
No says, this is the line because now this makes me healthy. This gives you a healthy space to relate to
now
me.
you get to kind of reconfigure how you're going to approach me.
And it also gives you the opportunity to make a choice whether it's worth.
Right.
It causes a negotiation,
Yeah.
like a reevaluation.
Communication, really,
Yeah.
essentially. You're
brings us
forced to
together.
communicate.
Yeah. So boundaries for people who are prone to giving up or having porous boundaries or
I immediately go to people
wishy-washy.
pleasers.
Yes.
Have really bad time with setting healthy boundaries.
Okay. So give me an example of
Overcommitting.
to set
Overcommitting.
Girl. Overcommitting, taking on more work than you should, whether that's at work, in your home,
Showing
women.
up in relationships, like having somebody who trauma dumps 24/7 on you.
God.
And you constantly play that role of nurturer when you can't, when you're not even pouring into yourself.
When they seek you out to dump on you, but it's draining.
Yep.
There's a time and place for everything to be available for people,
Yeah.
but there's also a time to
There's a
assert.
give and take, ebb and flow with
There
a
should
relationship.
always be. It's never 50-50.
No.
Sometimes you're given 70, but if you're not getting that reciprocity back of the investment, then that's not healthy. That's not healthy. And it's good to be aware of
Yeah.
these things. I think that's a great, we'll talk about consequences in a minute.
Yeah.
But overcommitting, I think this is it's like a very, not secretive. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's very, it doesn't seem like a big deal in the minute.
Oh, yeah.
Think of the holidays. you commit to bringing a dish here, but then, God, you're in a blended family and you got to go to the kid's dad's house,
I
and
mean,
you
if
got to
you
go to
think
their
of,
grandparents'
like
house,
you
and
have
then
like 2 sets of parents, then they have 2 sets of parents.
4 Christmases.
That's 4 Christmases right there. Yeah.
And it's just, think about those kind of situations. Like, is it necessary? Like, can you do it better?
Can you show up at your fullest capacity?
And how do you need to? Like,
Yeah.
is there a better way to do this for everyone? Because I'll tell you, kids too, that back and forth for them. Anyway, but again, at work, taking on more work, people pleasers, codependent types often can bear more burdens.
Yeah.
It's part of, again, that history, origin.
Martyr, savior complex
Ooh,
too, though.
there's something there too. We can talk about Pisces and but there is something about this false belief, or where we got this belief anyway, that we can bear more.
We can take on more than them.
That we can
handle it.
we can handle the burdens of others and ourselves. I'm thinking about Encanto. What's the sister who's the super strong one? Anyway, but
What is her name?
she's shouldering all of
Yeah.
this, but it's really breaking her down.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's where a boundary should come in. Like, I cannot, or I can only give
I can show up for this family in X, Y, and Z. I can't any other way.
a great way. There's an article I read about women. Women work and the husband works, or their partner works, but then they're doing all the homework and the housework, and they're like washing and cleaning, and like your partner should be doing should be a partner,
Should be an
helping
adult,
out.
know what it takes to run a household,
And that comes
showing
into
up.
kids. But moms, I think society puts it on us, but also what's expected of a female, but
Yeah.
familial roles. Why do you have to bear so much more? I think
don't.
it's just fascinating. Anyway,
Not no
so
more.
boundaries, that's a good place with a boundary. That can look like, I need you to do the dishes or the cooking so I can
Yeah.
do this and this without. Why do you have to give more then?
It's a negotiation. That's a great negotiation right there. If I cook, I need you to do dishes.
Yeah.
Or if
Give and
I
take.
cook, then you do dishes, back and forth, rotating. These are all ways that you can start a conversation and start negotiating the boundaries of the relationship.
To keep everyone healthy,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then it's going to turn into resentment, because you'll feel taken advantage of, or you feel you're tired all the time, and that's going to come out in other ways. Boundaries keep us healthy, right?
So I think a great next step of talking about boundaries is one facet of this. The next facet is the consequence.
Okay, yes, consequences.
So if you are really great at laying
Yes.
down boundaries, David is one of these strugglers on the follow through with the consequence.
It is. It's hard because
Where
I was the peacemaker in my family.
I'm the fire sign, so I just cut a bridge. I have no problem. If I've told you where I stand and you can't meet me there, I'm done. Peace out.
And I'm getting more that way as I
Yeah.
get older.
And so the more
stepping into
comfortable
it.
you get with boundaries, the easier it is to pull your energy back. But sometimes a consequence is not just removing your energy. Sometimes a consequence can be as simple as, when you stay at my house, I need you to pick up after yourself. If you can't do that, then you're no longer allowed to stay the night at my house.
Respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, consequences
following
are
through.
yeah, and holding those boundaries. So we set up all these boundaries, like you said, but if you're not holding people to task, I always think of Maya Angelou, you teach people how to treat
Yep.
you. And this is a perfect example. If, like, one thing I always do, take your shoes off when you come into my house.
Yeah.
That's simple. And if someone does it once and they don't realize it, no problem. I just address it. But that is something that's important to me. I don't want germs and all the, debris on your foot all over my house. That's for me.
Yeah.
But it can also be in relationships, like how you show up, but if people cross that, knowingly or unknowingly, you do have to step up for yourself.
Yeah, and address it.
And
which
put
is
that line down. It is,
uncomfortable.
but it shouldn't be. Because, again, you're
No.
teaching people how to be healthy with you, and you're going to resent it, and it snowballs.
Yeah.
It
But
is
if
easier
you
to just let it
aren't-
go sometimes.
If
but
you haven't been raised to do that,
It's not.
or it's not something you practice all the time, it's very uncomfortable in the beginning to address.
uncomfortable.
I don't like conflict at all. And so things like that, I get very nervous and anxiety and oh, we're going to have a confrontation. And 9 times out of 10, when you address it, most people respect it.
I respect when someone tells me,
Yeah.
I need this. Because if I genuinely care about someone, if I genuinely want this to be healthy, and I value your I love you,
Yeah, I want you in my life.
then I want you to be healthy and happy. And
Yeah.
by you telling me what you need genuinely, it gives me the opportunity to provide that for
Yeah.
you, even if that's space sometimes,
Yeah.
I love
But
that.
I think that kind of leans into why some people are scared to put boundaries down is that fear of losing someone.
Ooh,
The
why
fear
do
of
we
letting people
why
down.
do we sacrifice our boundaries? So we want people to like us.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to be liked,
Yeah, nobody wants to be left out.
right? We're afraid of losing something,
Yeah.
which is a catastrophizing kind of thought process, right?
On top of, why would you want somebody in your life who doesn't accept the full version of you?
Yeah. That's not. If they don't
But
love
we
you for
don't
who
see
you
it
are,
that way in the
Yep.
moment.
Well, because we do know dynamics and stuff, and this
Yeah.
is different from work. But again, you'll notice a lot of these patterns follow you into your
In
personal
every
relationships with
aspect
family.
of your life, yeah.
Blood is thicker than water. Toxic is toxic.
Yeah.
And if your boundaries are causing you to be ill in some way, zap
Yeah.
your energy, just draining you,
Yeah.
then it needs to be established.
Yeah.
So consequences, again, are hard to enforce because traditionally you come from a house that they're pushers. They're boundary pushers. A boundary
Yeah.
pusher will always find someone with porous boundaries. And
Give an inch, they'll take a
to
mile.
want to be loved, to want to be accepted, as children, we often develop these patterns, these belief systems within ourselves that I need to sacrifice. My boundary is not as important as keeping that
Yeah.
person happy, to keep it's good to just be to keep peace between us, right?
Yeah.
So
Peace at all costs.
I think boundaries, we're afraid of being alone a lot of times. So we go along with stuff that we don't want because we fear the unknown. We fear the other. Like, okay, if I let go of this person, this may be the best that's ever happened to me.
But I think that speaks a lot
Not
to
true.
that seeking validation from without or-
Codependency.
Yeah, because what is so bad about being on your own?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we have to be with ourselves, and
Yeah,
then
but I
we have
mean,
to sit with the stuff,
If
you
you
know.
work
and,
with it, and you end up liking yourself.
but then, you see the beauty, and you start falling in love with yourself
Yep.
too, because you start recognizing your potential and power, and
Yeah.
like just your innate worth. Like, I just think that trauma dumping was really interesting. I had
Yeah.
a friend. This is a perfect example of a consequence. I had a friend that was. Every interaction we had, I have a tendency, because I am that nurturer, that healer, that
You attract those types.
I do.
Yeah.
And people will come and trauma dump on me. And they don't even realize it half the time, but they know I'm a safe space. But then it's on me to be like, I'm glad I can be this for you.
Yeah.
At the same time, you just went on for 15 minutes
Yeah.
talking about every negative thing that's happened to you in the last week and a half. And now I feel like shit.
Also,
Energetically.
hi, how am I doing? Could you ask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be back and forth. And
Yeah.
again, time and place. But after the third time this happened, I had to have a conversation. One, because I was at a fuck it point. I didn't even care. I'm like, dude, dude.
Done.
But that allowed, and the way he responded it caught me off guard. I was at a point where I didn't even, I didn't
didn't
care
care
about the
either
outcome
way.
because I knew what I needed.
Yeah.
But he responded like, he said the same thing you did. Like, I appreciate you telling me this because now, one, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was doing that. Two, I value our relationship and I want this to be healthy. So it's given me an opportunity.
Show up differently.
Ooh,
Yeah.
powerful. Change the
Yeah.
dynamic of the relationship. Think
Yeah.
about those things. Where in your life can you use a little boundary restructuring, a little consequence? Hold your boundaries, guys. It's hard at first, but it does get easier once you start stepping into your power, because that self-worth and validation start to spring and grow up,
Yeah.
and you realize what I'm bringing, what I offer is worthy, and
Yes.
it is important.
Yes.
So,
I love that.
boundaries. Let's talk boundaries. They're uncomfortable, they're awkward, but we need them, and they're good for you, and they're healthy. So
Yes.
explore them. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Catch us in the Garden of Divinity. We really want conversations. We want to start talking. Give us some examples of boundaries that you've kind of laxed on, or boundaries that you've really upheld. Garden of Divinity. Sarah and I are both there. We're
Yep.
always looking to start those conversations. I'll make a channel just for that. But it's awesome to like get to know each other and where we're coming
Yeah.
from. It's hearing other people's experiences. So
Thanks, guys.
see you soon.
Bye.